Welcome, everyone, to Chirping Zebras, episode 48, Matt Grizzlick episode. Mark Riley alongside Gino Bender Jr. and our producer extraordinaire, Josh Dolan. Normally, we come to you from AOA Studios, but today we're in the virtual world out on Riverside. And before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor, the Referee's Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. Gino, you got the quarter zip on tonight?
I do, yes.
Nice.
We just got some. We got some new jackets. The old man, finally shipped in and bought. So we're good.
I got one.
Good.
I got one last week, so that was good.
Yeah.
And of course you have the trucker hat on, which is coming back for the spring. We're gonna have some new merch actually for the spring, so you can go to chirpingzebras.com to get that. And also want to make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. We're getting there. We're also on all the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook, and of course the TikTok. So and it's back. TikTok's back, which was good. It was only gone for a couple days.
Yeah, but it's back.
I know.
Josh had nothing to do for 2 nights. He had no idea what to do with himself.
Now. I went back to school and got a degree. I'm a doctor.
So, how about Kevin Chapman last week?
Oh, he was great.
Wasn't he great?
Oh yeah, a lot of good stories.
I started watching Brotherhood again, and sure enough, that story about him on the back of the boat, first episode, like 6 minutes in, and he's on the boat, and I kept laughing because he was, I kept thinking of the director shouting at him.
Yeah, right.
Hold the shaft more. If you haven't watched that episode, you should go back and watch it. It's fantastic.
And check out Brotherhood.
Check out Brotherhood. Mystic River, Person of Interest. He was in Coda, that movie that won the Academy Award. It won an Academy Award, Coda. I don't know what it was about. I haven't watched that one yet, but apparently it was pretty good. So, and then one day, Penalty Box will be made. You never know.
Yeah.
That's my script. That
I fire it out in the universe. It will happen.
I sent it over to Chappie. We'll see what happens. Maybe he'll get it done. All right. Enough of this nonsense. We're going to bring our guest on tonight. We're very excited. Tonight we have an NHL veteran, 24-year NHL veteran linesman. He worked 1,497 games in the NHL, and he worked 8 Stanley Cups. He also went to Sochi, Russia for the Olympics. Please welcome to the Chirping Zebras, Derek Amell. Derek, welcome.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, good.
Thanks for having me on. Staying warm is what I tell you. It was cold today in Mars, Pennsylvania. Ugh. So
was it 1 degree?
Lower. It was crazy. I'd take the dogs for the walk, and they didn't want to go too far down the street, which was nice. So we got the wheeler back in pretty quick. But yeah, it was cold. I think it was the coldest it's been here in a decade.
Ugh.
But anyways, good stuff.
Yeah, it's cold everywhere right now. I mean, shit, New Orleans, they got snow to the point where they shut down the city.
Did you see them? They were skating. They were skating down there. That was unbelievable.
I don't know what the alligators are doing.
My buddies from Houston were building snowmans and sending me picture texts.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Trying to let this dog in and out. Sorry, boys.
Oh, it's all right. We got Frankie Chirps. Riley's got a little Shih Tzu. Coho, it was crawling. It was crawling behind him. And Coho, what is that? A wreck? What is that? A squirrel?
First of all, it's a Yorkie. Yeah. It's 4 pounds, maybe 8 ounces.
So yes,
and Gino's petrified of it. Okay,
that's
all I want to. I want to make it known.
Yes, the squirrel.
Gino is petrified of a squirrel. We're used to dogs in the podcast here.
All right, I got 2 of them, so they just hold on.
Who else had dogs? Someone else had dogs on too.
Terry O'Reilly.
Terry O'Reilly had his dogs on. Yeah, that's right.
Did he?
Yeah, he's
got to go with the dogs.
Dash hounds. Yeah.
Retired and dogs, good combination. Keeps you going.
Good.
Absolutely. What kind of dogs are they?
I have a golden retriever that's 2, and I have a mix. What is he? He's a boxer shepherd, and he's 3. Oh, so, yeah. Bigger dogs. Wow. Handful. They're good. I love it. Keeps you busy. Yeah. Gets you up in the morning.
Oh, yeah, it does. Makes rides interesting with Gino too. Don't like the dogs.
Oh, the thing I
Um,
bought the whole
Do you know
time.
not a dog guy?
Well, I got bit by one a year and a half ago, and it was my buddy's pit bull, so it wasn't.
Ooh.
Yeah. But
I'll give you it was a pit bull, but it was a year and a half ago. You act like you were 10 and the thing chased you up the street.
that happened too. I grew up in Celtic. I got chased by a Rottweiler.
Like cornea or what? Well, like, you got to tell me more.
So it's the one thing I can get Gino on is his fear of dogs. That's all I got. It's the only thing he's afraid of from Salty. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
my mother.
Well, yeah, I'm afraid of your mom too.
That's funny.
And I just realized too. So, Derek, you're the second, not only the second NHL linesman we've had on. We had Vaughn Rohde on, but the two of you are both follically challenged. So
Big
I don't know
time.
if that's a thing.
Big
Is that
time.
a thing for the NHL linesman? I'm just wondering. Murph,
Well,
I mean, there's
Hey.
a lot of you out there.
I'm getting there. I'm still hanging on.
I think it's the stress, buddy. You're just getting yelled at constantly. You get on the road, you come home, get yelled at for being on the road, and I think it just falls out. It's for sure that, or maybe it's from wearing a helmet. I don't know. That's a good question. But Scampy, he didn't wear a helmet. He ended up bald too, right? Scampinello.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
So-
true. Might not
But
be the
Vaughn,
helmet.
I think Vaughn went a little earlier than me though. But he's got a nice hat. He's a good looking man, so he wears it well.
Yeah, I think you actually come to think of it back in, I don't know, 100 years ago when I went out to the WHL. I think he was bald then.
Could
So,
be.
yeah.
I don't remember him with hair.
I don't either.
No.
I don't either. But he does look good. He's a
does.
guy that can pull it off. But
Road dog.
I gotta tell you, I have to tell this story because when we first connected, Ian Walsh, shout out to Ian Walsh for hooking us up, our buddy Ian.
Yeah.
I was texting with you, and you can I do this on a phone? I don't have a computer.
I don't.
My response was, "What are you, homeless too? What the hell?"
Yeah, he
Pretty
texted me,
close.
He goes, I got Derek Amell. I go, I'll just call him.
I'm trying to get my goal now is just to get off the grid. Like
There you go.
yeah, that's my goal. Minimize and get off the grid. Yeah, I got no computer. I called my daughter when Walshy texted me. He said, "You want to hook up with Mark and Gino and that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And then I got that. I started laughing. I'm like, "No computer. Okay, I don't have one of those." iPhone 8.
Those still work.
And
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, I like that.
No, that's
Well,
it's
When
not
my
bad.
son laughs at me because my phone drops, like on FaceTime, I don't know, 20 minutes it's burnt through the battery pretty much. I got to have it plugged in. He's like, "What's wrong with you? Like upgrade, dude." Like, he doesn't even get it. And I said, "Listen, man," I said, "I worked 8 years in the NHL with no phone,
Right.
and it was, remember the hotel phone then? Missed the hotel
man.
phone, wife call you, and then you miss her at the airport 3 days later. No wonder why we
Gotta
have
get
no hair.
You got to get the calling cards. Remember the calling
Had the
cards?
calling card, the IDT one, 3 cents. Remember 3 cents a minute?
Yeah, you had to have it. Or you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
make phone calls.
You had to.
Oh, yeah.
You get crushed.
Yep. No GPS, none of that crap when you were driving around everywhere.
Call
It was
collect.
a different time.
Map book in the back of the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Ask
awesome.
directions at a gas station, and
It's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah. Now they're soft, eh? Yes.
Big
wheelie
time.
bags and everything.
Car drives for them.
Wheelie bags. That's right. Everyone has a wheelie bag now.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, God.
that's awesome. So,
All right.
Derek, anyone we have on that is in officiating, we always like to get the story of how you found officiating, because everyone has a different story.
Right.
Gino started when he was in the womb, when he was a toddler, and guys played and started after playing like myself. How did you find it?
Good question, and it's not a. Yeah, I guess it's kind of an old school story because you just don't. I don't think today. I probably would have as much of a chance to make it because it's a different. They have a different program now or a different process, right? But I was like 20 years old, going to college in my hometown of Oshawa, Ontario. So I was going to Durham College, and I was delivering pizzas. I had a girlfriend delivering pizzas, and I was doing the 2 or 3 in the morning deal. Hockey was done. I played up to like juvenile. That was it. It was over. And yeah, I was like, she's like coming home at 3 in the morning with an extra large pizza with all the toppings, but you're missing all the parties, man. Like I don't, she didn't want to hang with me anymore. I don't think, eh? So I said I can't do this job anymore. So my one buddy was reffing. So he's like, "You want to ref?" I said, "I'd love to try that." So I jumped on it, loved it. First time I did it, loved it. Little guys,
Nice.
when you pick them up and put them on the
Yeah.
ice and kind
Up
of
on this
spin them
side.
around. And I was a big guy, 6'4" at the time, and so I'm spinning these little guys around, and I really did enjoy it. I loved it. Loved being back in the game. Loved hockey. Always did. And I guess the rest is history. Just kind of slid up through that.
Now you worked, and we talk about you mentioned the model they have now, which is completely different than when we all came up.
Right.
But you worked your way up into the NHL. You worked the
Yeah.
OHL for a while, no?
Yeah. I worked 8 years before I made it to the NHL. Worked Ontario minor hockey. I worked from novice right up to something actually I'm very proud of is I worked every final of every league I ever worked in, which for me is something I always talk to young officials about. I think it gave me confidence and allowed me to get to that next level. You know what I mean? You kind of got to accomplish something, before you tackle something else, and I think that really helped me kind of master the craft, should we say, or whatever. So yeah, I worked novice, midget in Canada, junior C, junior B, 2-tier. Did that for 3 years, and then got hired by the OHL after that, and worked 4 years of the OHL. Worked the finals my last year there, Oshawa against who the heck did they? Ottawa. Great. I think it went 7. I think I worked that game. And then the Memorial Cup was, I think it was out west or somewhere. So they didn't transfer guys then. You had them all from whatever league you were then. So, and then I worked my last year there in the OHL. I also worked the American League in Hamilton. That was the year Edmonton put their farm team in Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
So that was like 96. I think it was. So it was really good for us OHL guys because they took the top 6 guys, I believe, at the time out of the OHL, and we were working those. We just rotate those games through, and I think there's Dean Morton, Brad Kovacek, Steve Miller, myself. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. I think we all got hired. So it was exposure and timing, right? We always talk about that, right? You have to be in the right place at the right time sometimes too,
Yep.
And so we did that, and I ended up, Hamilton went to the finals that year. They lost to Hershey. The old, what was his name? The coach, Hartley, Bobby.
Oh, okay.
Bobby
Bob
was
Hartley, yeah.
coaching Hershey, and then I think I think that got him the Colorado job basically right after that. But yeah, that was great experience. And then the next year I got hired by Brian Lewis, 40-40 they used to call it then. So you'd do like 40 American League, 40 National League games. So I worked the American League again, and then I was able to meet more American guys down because I was working Hershey then, and because at the time the year before I could only work Hamilton.
Right.
Because I was Canadian, but then I got my visa at the NHL and all that. So it was great. I would work the American League. I'd do Hershey and the next night Philly or that kind of thing. So yeah, and I had a full-time job after school for the 5 years of that. I worked at General Motors and had to work full-time during the day and then refed every night for about 6 years straight. And Had a great boss though. He had some mornings coming home from Sudbury at 6 in the morning that start at 7. Go, you want to go take a little nap somewhere, hide yourself for it. He's like 23, 24, I don't know. And
Absolutely.
yeah, because I was going the next night to Barrie.
Right.
So
Wow.
it was, but he was a great man, and he, it's like everything. It's not always the hockey guys that help you get where you go. It's family, and it's guys like him. If I don't have that for a guy for a job who was a hockey fan and loved it, and he was an older fella and he got it, and I could have had that boss where you got to be back here, but because I'd make up a lot of time in the summer. I'd kind of keep track because I'd be taking off time, and then in the summer I'd kind of make up the hours. But yeah,
That's something these kids need to hear nowadays, because I think that's missing. Like, just grinding it out, buying your time, working on your craft, mastering your craft, getting to that final, like working up to that point. And everybody wants to get to the next level when I don't think they're ready yet. And I think we're pushing kids through the system way too quick. I've said it multiple times on here. And you did whatever it takes just to, because you want to make it work. You wanted to make it work. Like, these kids just want it to come to them. Like, you were hungry for it. You went and found it. You made sure that you would make reffing a game at a high level all the time. These kids just expect it nowadays. It's kind of like it's a lot different than now it is. But
well, you're 100% right, and that's all part of the experience. I feel. I tell my son now, and he's playing D1 college at Sacred Heart, freshman, and he's grinding. He's in and out. It's grind, and I'm like,
oh, yeah.
enjoy the suck, enjoy the grind. It's all part of it. Enjoy the guys.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you can't always do something hoping you get something at the end of it. You got to join the whole experience. But that's the thing I try to tell guys is, you got to love hockey. Because this gets old real quick. I don't care if it's college hockey or reffing or American League or National League. I mean, if you're not into this and want to figure it out, and this thing will eat you up. It's not fun. Then you just become that miserable old guy and call terrible penalties, right?
We know plenty of them.
Yeah.
You brought up something really cool. It's not just the hockey guys that help you get there, right? Like that boss you had, that's something I think a lot of people overlook, right? Like, we think our family, right? I mean, 100%. Our family makes, sacrifices with us on the road and all that stuff. But those people that helped us, that weren't hockey people, that was huge.
Big time. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I was doing a full-time job, and basically there were 2 full-time jobs, just to travel, as you guys know, and whatever. Mm-hmm. And he loved it. He thought it was great. But I mean, when I got there, I did my job, and in the summer, you sacrifice a lot of other stuff to stay there, work a lot of weekends in the summer or whatever, because when everyone's heading out, because you wanted to give those hours up so you could. Drive to Port Perry in a snowstorm for an 8:30 start, right, on a Friday.
Right.
And when you talked about that earlier, Gino, where, it's sacrifice. It's that last year when I was working American League in Hamilton. I worked American League in Hamilton. I worked the OHL. Mm-hmm. I worked the OHA, which was Tier 2 in Canada, like the CCHL and them. Yep. And Junior C and midget. All that year, I never turned any of those games. I'd obviously prioritized, but I worked all those leagues that year. I just took every game I could get. Right. It's an apprenticeship. You just got to work hockey games. You got to get better. Yep. And that's what I try to tell guys. It's no different than hockey. I mean, you just got to practice. I mean, you got to get better. Everybody else is getting better, but the only way you can get better at officiating, in my opinion, is work games.
Yeah, like Chris Rooney always said it too. And any of those things I went to, those camps or whatnot, he always said experience. You can't replace experience in game counts. Like, never say no. Have bag, will travel, and just take every game for a learning experience, because they're all different and they all bring something different. No matter if it's like a women's game, high school game, whatever. It's all good experience, and you can grow from whatever it's thrown at you. So,
100%.
And we've heard that from different guests, not just, hockey guys, right? But we heard that from Lenny Clark, Jimmy Dunn, even Chappie last week said, you take whatever you can because you don't know that opportunity might lead into another opportunity or, whatever. So and I think it is lost on this generation coming up. Everyone gets a trophy thing. It's like you just got to show up and you win. And that's not the way life works, right? So, but I'd love to get your thoughts on, because now they don't make guys work their way up. Like, Gino, you worked the finals in every league. You worked, right?
Pretty much. I worked, the USHL final. I worked an East Coast League final. I never worked an American League final because like all the NHL guys do it, and then Terry Kohaski always worked it. So like I got to the conference finals twice, so that was kind of basically my final. But I always strive to work that final. I worked a bunch of college finals, the NCAA stuff like that. But that was my goal every year was to get as far as I can and to work that final. And it's a lot of fun.
And get that game count up. So now, Derek, what you have is, they're plucking these ex-players out, right? And just throwing them right in. And, it's a model that in theory, I think, looked like it might work, but I don't really think it's working because guys don't have that experience.
Well, I think it's changed. I think it's changed officiating personally. I mean, and no fault of anybody. I was part of our executive of our union back in the day, and this was a big part. I think we all wanted more of a hybrid system. Do you know what I mean? We brought in another ref. We needed more refs. I mean, it's hard to find good refs. We all know that. And at the time when I think they were starting all this, I don't think they were making the money that they are now either. Because I remember referees turning the NHL down of guys that had really good jobs.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It just wasn't worth it. They'd stay and work in Canada and work the OHL, or stay and work D1 or D3 in college and be home at night, right?
Right.
And then the rules changed, right? In 03, 04, they opened it up, with the two-man system. So they had and I think we were caught they were caught kind of in a perfect storm, for lack of a better word, where they had a lot of veteran referees. I mean, when this was all coming through, they had the Koharskis, the McCrarys, the Schicks, and the Magoos and all these that were like older. And then they had the next wave of the Watsons, the O'Hallorans, and then they had the next wave of the Rooneys and the McCaulleys, right? So, but they had a lot of older guys, and they had the two-man system. So they needed a lot of refs, and they had guys leaving at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I think, when did they start that? Remember the combine? Well, that's where it changed, right? The combine. They started their combine, like their own training camp, and then they figured that if they can skate and they know the game, and it makes sense. It makes sense, right? I mean, they all can skate. They all know the game. They're all like, just in great shape, phenomenal. They're all athletes. They're most of them play D1 or professional hockey or whatever. But it's like I said before, you can't. And then they get rushed through this stuff. Because they don't want to sit. These guys are going right to the JW Marriotts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like on pension. And I'm not cutting it up. It's the way it is. I mean, I'd like to see them grind for 4 years at the Red Roof Inn.
Oh, you're 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like in the back of the Camry with 2 or 3 other guys on an 8 hour, one back to back. I'm being honest. I think it builds character. I think it tells me if you're.
I can't agree with you more.
Tells me if you like this.
Yes.
If you have a passion for it, because if you don't, you're not going to want to do that.
Right.
For 2 years. So I think it weeds out certain guys that, why are we here? Do you love hockey? Because if you want to be a good official or a good referee or a good linesman, you have to serve the game and you have to have a passion to love the game. It's not about you. That's the first thing, and I think that weeds a lot of guys out. The ones that hang around are either they like it, right, or they're weird, and that's a good thing too. But so I don't really think it's the athletic part of it. They are better athletes, most of these kids, than maybe a kid that came through, Boston Youth or Oshawa, Ontario Youth Hockey, do you know what I mean? That never played pro. They're better athletes. They're probably better skaters. I mean, they played pro hockey. But you can't make this up in 2 years. You got to work hockey games, you know. And I always believed. I mean, you can twinker and tweak. It's tough to learn in the NHL.
I can't agree with you more.
It's tough. You're surviving, and if you haven't accomplished, that's why when I got back to what you said, what I was talking about before, this all pulls this together. Is I conquered Junior C finals in Napanee, where they were standing on top of the Coke machines, 600 farmers, right? Every farmer there,
right?
Like I was shitting my pants.
That's awesome.
Game 7 there, and and they lose, and you get out of there. It wasn't our fault. I'd worked that game with Dean Martin, both of us on the lines. He was a linesman then.
I worked the rehab assignment with him down the American League. He was
Big
coming
Morty.
back. Me and him up in. He benched Tom Rowe. Actually, it was awesome. I'll never forget. I was like, that was done.
Yeah, that Napanee trip from Oshawa, because Dino lives where I'm from, Oshawa.
Awesome.
And that trip's about 90 miles. It's between Kingston and. It was 2-2-4s. We were lining, the referee drove, so he was shit out of luck. He had to drive, and me and Marty were just pounding back there after the game. But that's how you learned, you know what I'm saying? And we became, you had to love it. We had a lot of friends that were really good at it at the time too that shut it down, didn't want to do it. We had to do something else. It's hard. So I think they miss a lot of that, which builds a lot of teamwork. It builds a lot of, sometimes, it's hard to explain, but it's hard to get into that 4 guys. Do you know what I mean? When you're on the ice and trust and believe, unless you've been through this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same as a hockey team. It really isn't. You can be a lot more individual in a hockey team, like I'm the right D on third pairing, get that puck up.
Right.
Do my thing, get off, and hope I can play the next game. You gotta when there's a high stick and everybody's looking at each other. I worked a lot. I'll use great examples. Danny O'Haller and Brad Watts, and I worked a lot of finals with them in the NHL, but I worked finals with them in the AHL. Like Brad Watson worked 5 AHL finals.
That's awesome.
His first 5 games, he worked 5 years. He had like two NHL games. They didn't push you up. There was nowhere to go.
Right.
You're not going to jump Don Koharski or Bill McCurry or, and that's why they're good, because they worked a lot of games down there. So to get back to what you're saying, I think it's a bit of everything. I think more than them or a person, I think the system's pushing them way too quick where they can't learn. They're not learning quick enough. It's not their fault. I don't care who it is.
Right.
No, I definitely agree too. And where the hell is Nippany?
Sorry?
Where is Nippany?
Nippany.
Didn't you just say Nippany?
No, maybe. No, I don't think so.
Where was the junior championship with all the
Napanee.
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 My bad, that's Boston. Napanee.
Yeah.
Where is Napanee?
Yeah. Where is it? It's between Oshawa and Kingston on the 401. Little town.
Nothing.
Well, you know what I mean? I worked that, and then I worked Junior B finals and Tier 2, awesome. And then OHL finals, and then American League finals. Like, you got to...
Yeah.
I remember...
But I worked a lot of guys, and they all did. Every one of the guys that I worked with coming up at the time, they all did the same thing wherever they were from.
I remember I was like 21, 22. I was working a Division I game. It was one-man system back then, right? Now it's 4. But Kevin Collins came to supervise me, and like he comes in and he goes, "Hey, kid," he goes, "if you want this," he goes, "you shouldn't be doing this. You need to be getting in your car, putting 1,000,000 miles on it, eating fucking McDonald's, and going city to city. If that's how you got to learn, that's how you got to grind and figure if you like it or not.
There
He
you
goes,
go.
that's the only way. So you know what? I went out, lived in Omaha, and had whatever, had the experience, and that's what it all is. It's the experience, and that's what these kids, they should. Not only it's like an experience, but it's like I still have friends for life coming out of it, right? Like all the guys I worked with, we all worked college hockey. We all stayed in it. We all loved the game. We all strived. We all worked the American League for a couple of years. Some guys went and worked college hockey, and now, still keep in touch with all of them for the most part, and it's a lot of fun. Um, I encourage it.
That's what it's
Yeah,
all about.
That's definitely what it's all about, and it's I think. And while you were talking, Derek, I thought the other thing driving all those miles and getting the back of a Camry and all those things that you have to go through, that humbles you, right?
Yes.
It definitely makes you not only appreciate what you're doing, but it also you realize that it takes a while to get there, and if you get there, it doesn't mean you're there. I got there and a week later I was gone. So it's like, all that work, all those drives, you got to do a 2:00 Sunday game after, an 8-hour ride after your game Saturday night, and you feel like shit and you don't want to do it. Like it makes you realize it builds character, as my mother would say. Right. And when you have character, you can handle situations. And I think that's what's missing.
100%. It builds. It build. That's what it's all about. I mean, I remember. I mean, how many times we drive home on a drive by themselves, and you're like, I suck, and at the end of the drive, you're like, I suck, I'm the worst. You know what I mean? You're just like talking to yourself, and it's hard, and then you got to grind her out next game. One morning, you're like, I wasn't that bad. I'm great. And by the time you're going on, you're trying to talk to yourself, you're good. And then you get back in the car and you sucked. You sucked. Both teams hate you. But it's what it's all about. It's how you learn, right? And then you learn quick. And I think a big part of it is, too, the one-man system.
Yes.
My son played in the USHL and in the North American Hockey League, and I mean, I love the North American Hockey League when they had the one-man system there. I watched a lot of that junior hockey there over the last few years, and I mean, it got a little hairy. It's hard. What are you learning when there's 3 minors here, 2 minors here, and you didn't even call one of them?
Right. I can't agree. Oh, I bring that argument to all the junior leagues that I'm involved with. The same thing. I go, keep it the one-man system. That's how they learn. I go, they got to learn.
Gets a little rattier. It's great.
Yeah.
No one's getting hurt.
They got to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was on a call today with a junior coach, and this kid has 5 ref assignments for us all season. And he was like, he has no business working. Blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, how is this kid going to grow? I go, he's on the lines. The next step is to how are we ever going to figure it out if he can do it or not, right? And he goes, well, he did this. I go, he didn't get personal. Like, he took it personal. I'm like, well, it's not personal. I go, it's just poor officiating. The kid's learning. And he goes,
Right.
Why is he learning at this level? I go, well, where the fuck's he going to learn?
Coaches always want, it's like the world we live in. I want it all changed, but not my backyard, right?
Right. And you don't look at it from one lens, right? It's just like, man, it's a whole. Like, what about your actions, like leading up to it and all that kind of stuff? And that was a coach that got benched and tossed too, right? So,
well, that's the other thing too. You sit here and you can go all full circle into whatever a league is. They have a lot of influence on the officiating.
Yep.
I mean, you go to D1 or D3. I mean, you guys know better than I. If coach doesn't like them, you're probably not sending them there too much.
No,
there's a lot of outside influences, which, you have to have a lot of experience and a lot of charisma and a lot of character to be able to stay out of that kind of stuff and call the game the way it is, call it fair.
Right.
That takes experience.
Yes.
3-man or 4-man? Which one did you like working in better?
Well, in the NHL, it's too fast. You can't do a 3-man. Right. It's physically it's impossible. The American League, I would say the same, and that's pro hockey. But I really believe in college. College has money, and it's a different game there. They don't want to see as much of the physical stuff as you say junior. But why? I don't understand why you would take it out of junior hockey. Like junior hockey, it's everyone's learning. It's a lot more cost effective for a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are hanging on by shoestring budgets. Not everybody's killing it, and I just think they learn. You got to learn on your own. And that's just my opinion. I don't think it's necessary, but like Bantam hockey, AA hockey, 2-man system, like it's the game's too expensive as it is. I think it makes it a lot more expensive, and I think it makes it waters down officials to where we're not going to have any. It's all vanilla, and I think you don't have anybody that is going to be really great or really bad. It's just we're going to get what we got now. It's just you're going to miss calls, and no one's going to be able to excel at it. I think because it's you have to learn and you have to build skin.
So like how we do it, Derek, is like we used to have our 3-man midgets. Our midgets all 3-man.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's all 2-man because of the numbers. So like we use our lower level junior leagues for
2-man's great too. 2-man's great. That's even. I'm glad you brought it up because you're reffing and lining.
Exactly. You're calling penalties. You know what a major is.
Great.
You know how to. You have to go talk to the coach. Like you're involved in all of it, and it's good hockey. It's fast paced. And that's where we know that hey, when you're on the lines, we know you could call a major penalty. We know that so. You assist the referee. You're not just a linesman. You're
totally
you got to think like a referee out there, right? And all that kind of stuff. So that's where the transition comes in, and then the juniors you get the 3-man system, and you work from there, and then the college you just start working in the 4-man, right?
Exactly, and I think I don't think we need the 4-man until pro hockey, in my opinion, and college, D1 college. That's pro hockey now, right?
Yeah,
NIL deals and everything that's around it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? To get off topic, I read that there's going to be like 7 or 8 NCAA college football quarterbacks are going to make more than Purdy or whatever the guy owns in San Francisco.
Yeah,
Wild.
I saw that too.
Consider that pro now.
Yeah.
They're talking about salary caps in college too. Some school that was smaller said we should have salary caps to keep it all level.
Right?
It's like it's college. Like this is
unbelievable.
insanity.
It's business, though, right?
No, it's
what
all
they
about
said.
the money, right? It's
Yeah,
all about
100%.
making money.
But
Now, we all have that story, right? I had a 25-minute long line brawl in Richmond. Gino's he probably has 4 of them. We actually showed one on one of the episodes where he had 2 line brawls, 2 shifts in a row.
that's the best.
Yeah.
What was your craziest game? Like, what's that game that stands out that just had a
man.
complete shit show go on?
Well, it was funny. It just came up as the 20-year anniversary it was my son and his hockey team were kind of, he was chirping me with it. He sent it to me. It was do you remember Domi in Philadelphia just came out with the goalies, went with Boucher and Domi's skating around. I think had to be in the ACC, but yeah, that was hairy. It was a Saturday night in Toronto. I was probably a couple years in the league, so I was fairly young, working with Scampanello and Billy McCree, 1-man systems. So it was a big night, Philly, and that's when McCarthy,
Oh boy.
Berube, they were the 2 taggers for Philly then.
Yeah.
He was the coach of Toronto now, and they all went. Everybody was going, goalies, but then they were going to other fights and trying to hit guys. Yeah, it was pretty hairy, but that one was a big one. But I had a few in junior, like where we had everybody go. There's nothing like it.
No, it's nothing. It's like you fight for survival at that point, right? There's no handbook, right? It's just
what do you do?
yeah. Yep.
Now, I mean, I think the internet would break down if we had a bench clearing brawl. Wouldn't it be nice they all just come over and just over the bench one night and just said, you know what, let's just go. What do you think would happen?
Thank God the videotapes were VHS back in the day. They all got destroyed because
Well, the NHL used to be like that when they had like L.A. They would, if they had something happen out there, they would have to VHS it all the way back to Toronto, and for Monday, and you know what I mean.
it's crazy. That line brawl.
Those match penalties got lost over in Nebraska somewhere sometimes, right? Those tapes, the GMs wouldn't send them or send a different tape, right?
That's awesome. My line brawl tape I don't have because Andy Van Hellemon was my boss at the time, and he lined the first period because one of the linesmen didn't show up. And
Where was this?
This was in Richmond. It was in '97, I think. Hampton Roads at Richmond, and there was only Mark Hamlet, the Hammer, the hillbilly. He showed up, and the other guy didn't. And so I said, Andy, you coming out of retirement? You know, and he goes, I'll be back. And he came back in with borrowed sweatpants and skates. And he comes in, and I go, Andy, you reffing this one? He goes, no, Riles, your game. And he goes out, and everyone knew he was someone, but no one knew who he was. You know, I think he got announced as Wally Harris.
His buddy Wally.
He'd go into a scrum, and he'd be like, "All right, boys, all right," and everyone just was kind of like, you know. And one of the captains said, "Who is this, Rouse?" I said, "I don't know, some local guy they grabbed." And but that game, some local guy showed up that said he did college, and he jumped on for the second period, and that's when the line brawl happened. But because there was video of Andy lining, he wouldn't give up the tape. To this day, I want that tape because that brawl was.
Oh yeah, that wasn't going in. Not a chance.
No, that tape got disappeared quicker than the Area 51 tapes. You know, like. Oh,
and he had all the bases covered. You know that, Riles. He had all the bases covered.
AVH was the man.
He learned all this. He told you all the secrets.
Yep.
Drive here, park here, put the cabin from here, take the train from here across there, and you can put 12 in your jeans here. If you eat over at this place, they have a happy hour from 4 to 6.
Oh, he had some great
right. Father knows everything. He does. Yeah.
But that was fun. Just traveling with those guys, and there was 40 of them. The Wally. I traveled with all these guys before the internet, and you would just, and they're all grinders, and we didn't make any money. You know, it was fun stuff. It was a cult, but that's where we talked about. That's where we're losing.
Yes.
The business now. You know what we're like? We're like the PGA now. Everybody's like in the same union, but everybody's trying to hit their own ball and get their own score. Do you know what I mean?
My father says everybody shows up in their own limo with their own agenda.
Right. But anyways,
that night, the best part about that night for me was that in the third period, Kimby Daniels was the kid's name, played for Richmond. I gave him a penalty, and he swung his stick at my head. Just missed it, right? So I gas him, and that put me in the record book. That gave me 304 minutes, I think, was the record. Stood for 10 years.
Was that the record?
Someone called 306. That was the record in the East Coast League for 10 years. 304 minutes.
It's a lot of minutes, buddy.
What's that?
You weren't handing no dimes then, really.
No, there were no die. It was just all fights and game misconducts. And I had a spear in the first period with a butt end. And it was one of those games. It was just nuts. And I tell the story. I used my riot pad for the first time and only time that night. During the brawl, I just drew a smiley face with "I'm fucked" on my riot pad. Just went over and said, "Here's what I got, boys. Call upstairs."
Everyone's going.
Afterwards, we go out to get something to eat, and Andy.
What's Andy say?
So Kimby Daniels is over at a table, like, you know, across the restaurant.
Yeah.
So Andy sends over a glass of milk, right? With a note, "Thanks for putting me in the record book." Riles. He goes, he tells the waitress, I go, "What are you, nuts? He's going to kill me." He goes, no, watch this. Fucking Daniels gets the milk, and he's like this, and then he looks over, and Andy gives him a smile and a wave, and so do I, and he actually started laughing. That was my favorite part of the night, though, sending milk to the kid who put me in the record book.
There you go. But
that was Andy, right? That was how he was.
But that's how you learn. It's you know, it's not just calling penalties. You got to be a psychologist out there, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Manage the people.
Got to put out fires before they start.
Yes, it's so true. I tell guys all the time. I go, that's like get out in front of it, right?
Have to.
Don't let it happen. I go, if you know this guy's going to be a dick, or you know this play is going to be, get in his ear early, right? Like, especially in college, I used to always like in warm ups. If I knew a kid always like took penalties or always like ran somebody, I would get in his ear and before warm ups and talk to him, right? And then I would dialogue that through the whole game, and it would click in his mind like maybe he wouldn't like throw that cross check out front or whatever the case may be, and maybe he'll keep his arms down when he's stepping up and because he took a major the game before, and it's just kind of whatever. I just got the kid on my side that afternoon and just made my life a little easier.
Well, yeah, I remember when Marchand first came up to Boston. He was. I mean, he's still a rat, but he's a first line rat, and I love him for it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
But he was the fourth line guy, right?
Yep.
And then he went to the penalty kill. He worked his way up, but when he was fourth line, I mean, he was a pain in the ass. You go to Boston, I'd be like, I wouldn't take my freaking eyes off him.
No, you can't.
I knew, and then he'd be like, he hated me. First 2 years in the league, he's like, you fucking big galoot, what? You're always around me. I said, who am I going to be standing beside, Bergeron?
Yeah.
You're the one spearing guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be all over you all day. And he would just look at me and he'd be like, I said, I'm not going to go stand by that guy over there.
Yeah.
And, but then we build a relationship.
Right.
He'd say
Absolutely.
to me too, he'd go, I'm going to be on the fucking power play. I'm going to be on the fucking power play in this league. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Just get out of here. And he did. But you could tell he wanted it.
Oh, it's funny you say that because, like, I talk about the shit show I had with him. I had a line brawl. He chirped the bench. It's on YouTube. And, they were smoking the team like 6-7-1. They were beating Portland. It was a Sunday, and I remember at a scrum, I go, Marshy, will you cut the shit? I go, you're smoking him. And you know what he says to me? He gets in my face. He's like, I'm just trying to get back up top. I'm like, I fucking like this kid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, he was just like, but, I mean, that's how he is. That's how he played.
Yeah. Yeah. No, hats
off to the kid, everything he's accomplished, it's
but
awesome.
he's earned everything he's got,
Yep.
and
100%.
he's mastered his craft.
Yep.
Who was the
Bruin?
Yeah, right. I would hate him if he was on another team.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He'd be our Matthew Tkachuk.
like,
That would be if he was on another team.
It's all about like the Leafs and the Habs. They hate Marshy, but they like when he's on Team Canada. Eh? They're just all hooting up there up in Montreal. Right?
So true. Who is the player that you like to deal with the best, or who was the guy that you had the best rapport with?
Yeah, there were so many guys that were just really, really, really good people. Just like Joe Thornton was one of those guys, just a classy guy. Like wouldn't lie, honest. There was times when I would be with him. He goes, "That puck needs to go outside, eh?" The other team would be bitching. He goes, "Yeah, we touched that."
That's awesome.
He'd take it outside, but and then he'd win 5 face-offs in a row. I give him the wink, but but thanks, buddy. They're in the defensive zone, though. You got to let them survive. But there's so many. Sid's a great guy. Like who was a great guy? Never said a word. Was Ovi. Like Ovi never bitched.
That's good.
Ever. Sid whined a little bit when he was younger, but they're all over him. And no,
Right.
Just a second.
I gotta do this. Be right back.
But there's been way more good guys than bad guys. That's for sure. There's so many great, really classy guys, and Mario was fantastic.
Yep.
Never cheat on a face-off. They come in straight up. Boom. Just the guys be looking. Now they come in and they're cheating all over the place and just testing these linesmen, right? Until they break down, and they break down by the second or third period. They break down, and they own them, right?
Some of the face-offs, I mean, I was a referee, so it wasn't my craft to drop pucks, but I watched some of these games, and I'm like, the offensive guy, his stick isn't even touching the ice, and they're dropping the puck. And it's maddening to watch. I mean, you must go out of your mind because you guys.
I don't
back
even
in the
watch
day,
a lot of NHL. Like, I'll go to the Pens games here. I probably went to 3 or 4 of them so far this year, but because I'm following the college hockey, like they just defy them. You gotta. It's. I always believe, like, if we were allowed, do you remember, like, it's there. I think it's still a rule, is the, two face-off violations and you get a penalty.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they wanted it, but they didn't want it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I want you to make sure, scare them, but we've never called one. How are we scaring them? And, you just scare them, but it doesn't work. There's no.
Right.
And then they just defy you, and then by the second or third period, they own these guys, most of them, except the ones that you see that are working. As a linesman, if you get good at face-offs, you're going far.
Yes.
That's where we're at now. They don't fight, so you don't have to break up anything, really. I mean, they fight one fight at a time. You're not going to have a brawl. They don't really scrum as much as they used to, right?
Nope.
And
no two-line pass. You had to deal with
pass,
that.
and if you fuck up an offside, they just fix it for you. It's not a big deal. So you better get good at and you better get good at face-offs, and that's what will distinguish you from, I think, any league now. I think it'll make a difference of you getting hired, too. Because you got to be able. They're not your buddies. I always say to them,
Right.
they're not your friends. These guys aren't your friends because, hey, buddy, and all that stuff. Or they'll bitch. They used to bitch to me, and they go like, "Oh, you beat me 4 in a row." I said, "Well, he makes like $8 million too.
Yeah.
Like you just want to win them all." You know what I mean? Like, go look at the numbers. 54%. You're probably making a lot of money in the NHL taking faceoffs. Right. It's not a big number. You're losing almost half, but then you got to get relationships, right? When are you losing them? You're losing them in the offensive zone, or you're losing them with 2 minutes left in your end in a tight, 2-2 hockey game, and now it's in the back of your net. So as a linesman, you have to know these kind of things.
Right.
And is it managing the game? No, I think it's surviving in the game. I hate when people say, well, the refs are officials or lines is it lines person now? Can I say lines?
Person, people, yeah. Person.
Well,
person.
Oh, yeah.
if you know anything, we're a very woke podcast here.
Okay.
And that's it definitely said with massive sarcasm. We were
Okay.
early on. Someone said,
I'm just going to go with linesman.
Yeah, the social
I'm a
medias
retired
you
puck
guys are
shagger.
really
How's that? A
woke.
puck shagger.
There you go.
But,
JFL. You could just go with JFL.
Right.
That's what they call it, right? Back in the day.
Yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. I think Von Rody's his ex-wife had that as a handle on her email at one point. But it was just JFL linesman's wife.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That checks out.
Yeah. Something to that effect. But it was
yeah.
good. I always
That's
got a kick
awesome.
out of that. But yeah, you have to manage to some part. You won't survive. You know that. You guys know that. I mean, in the real world, like, I can't believe there's 5 in a row on that team, and the next one's going to be against the other team. Really?
Yeah.
The coach has been telling them since 3 in a row that we're getting the next one.
Right.
It's or you won't survive. So as a linesman, you have to know, what time of the game it is or whatever. Or you see a guy, the classic. I just watched it. It was D1. It was my son's Sacred Heart. They kicked it was a 5-on-3 and for full 2 minutes, and then he kicked the centerman out, so he had to bring the D in, take the face off for a 5-on-3.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah, that was in the Riles.
Sacred Heart.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking, going, why would you put yourself in that position?
Right.
No, you got a D taken to win on a 5-on-3, and then they put it in the back of the net, and you wonder why everyone's yelling at you.
Well, 2 seconds.
But
But
going
can't
back
be
to
costing them either.
like
Sorry.
going back to like Marshy and like how you said he didn't care for you in the beginning, and like how like building relationships, and that there's I've heard that the tough guys were always like the easiest ones to get along with, that they were always like pretty good to the officials. Was there like with the tough guys, was there guys that you knew were gonna fight in that game where you were like, I don't want to have to break this one up? Like, were you like looking ahead, like how kind of the tough guys look ahead and they're nervous the day before and can't sleep and stuff, and you're like, I gotta break up Boogard?
Right? No, I love breaking up fights. I did. I enjoyed that part of the game. I liked when two tough guys. If I knew Domi and I had Buffalo, Toronto, and Domi and Razor are gonna go, I would like that. I just like looking at them like right here. That's part of that passion you talk about. Or like, I'm sitting in the front row watching these two guys go at it, and.
Oh yeah.
What's that? Sorry. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I never got, but I don't know how those guys do it. It's the toughest job in the world. Back those days too, you had, you went into St. Louis and you beat up Kelly Chase. You had Tony Twist knocking on your door the next night, and you're like, oh my God. Or, you're Probert and Kosher. Everybody had their buddies, and then your third line and fourth line could fight. They were older then. That was before the cap, right? So you had older guys playing third and fourth lines, and it was an older league. But everyone could fight. Even a lot of your star players could still fight. But now
Who was the toughest guy you saw? Who was the toughest
I would
guy
say honestly the toughest would probably Probert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you talk to most of the he was just a little bit above everybody else. And for a long time. In a big market, and he rode shotgun beside Stevie Y there, and I think he almost pumped 31 year, right? I think they were scared to go near him, but hey, he was a pretty good hockey player.
I just can't imagine not being like a little bit nervous going in to break that up, because I worked with Lyndon Byers on the radio for years, and like every morning I would just be staring at his hands, and they're the size of my head, and I'm like, I can't imagine that fist going back and forth with a Rob Ray fist. What am I gonna do?
Stu Grimson fist, it'd be like getting hit by a waffle iron right in the side of your head. I mean, it was just like. They're just like meat hooks, like all of them. Like it was just, you're right. It was just like, just grabbing guys and just holding. It's just like, Stu used to put them, just clench them, and they were like, that guy was 6'2", 200, and the guy wasn't even moving. He was just like boom, 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 boom. Had enough, kid, and that was it. There was some. Remember Jim McKenzie? There's a lot of big guys then.
Yeah, we had one of the greats on our podcast here, Terry O'Reilly.
Oh my God,
he was
But that was
talk about a great guy.
Funny,
just someone that would just. Kill
Terry's from my hometown.
Oh right, that's right. Yeah,
Oshawa,
he's
Ontario.
from up there.
Yeah. He grew up around his house where he grew up. He's obviously older than me, but it was about 5 or 6 blocks from me. We as kids knew where it was. That was one of my heroes. But he was a hockey player too. Yes. Well, they were, but most of them were. They could do both, right?
Yeah, Terry had 31 goals in 215 minutes and penalties one year. I mean,
look at
crazy.
how many goals Cam
like
had.
that would never happen now.
Oh, I know.
Who could,
Yeah, Cam's another one.
I know. Well, my son last year was playing for Maryland, and they went to the finals of the NAL, the North American Hockey League, and he goes to me, broke the all-time record for PIMs on the team. Hey, Dad, 167 PIMs. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a lot. That's good. So I pulled up. Remember Dennis Bonvie?
Yeah.
The Bonner? Love him. One year he had like 506 or something like that. So I said, elite prospect, this guy, Luke. He looks at me, he texts me back. He goes, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm like, yeah, no dimes either.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
just like
No dimes.
500, like every night.
That's a grind.
But it's I actually miss some of that, and I think the game is. I don't want it to turn into brawls or anything, but I mean when we're debating neutral zone hooks and this now,
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
Like Stewie said we had Stu on. He
How
always
was the stew cat?
Stu Cat was good.
Good.
Yeah. Saw him the other day actually. But he brought up there's a lot of friction in hockey, right? And there's a lot of truth to that. And then the fights, translate into that, like the frustration. Now you see all the stick fouls and the swinging and all that kind of stuff where it's like, man, if they just kind of, just drop them and go instead of all that kind of other crap. And it just kind of takes the air out of the building,
Yeah, sometimes I like fighting as long as it's not. I don't think we need the stage fights, right? We don't need the stage fights anymore.
Nope.
I mean, it's emotional. If two guys are going and they end up slashing each other and they drop them, then what's wrong with that? And
Right.
you got guys, professionals like me and other guys now that can break them up, and you don't see anybody going for popcorn when there's a fight in the crowd.
Nobody's sitting either.
They seem to all be watching, even the ladies.
Right.
Who doesn't want to see a fight? But I think what it does more importantly, though, I think a good fight sometimes is your ref's best friend, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because it just brings like calling a 4-on-4, right? Sometimes if you're having problems or whatever, call 4-on-4. Coincidentals, it opens the ice up, and then they can they kind of sort it back out and bring it back to you, right? That's what a fight can do, a lot of times, right?
I've seen it happen in plenty of my games in the American League where you're just like everything's on edge. There's a lot of kind of questionable hits. Everybody's kind of at each other, and then the two tough guys come out, big hit, they drop them, bang bang boom, the game's right back on track, right? And you just it does help.
Big time.
Well, and you also, like back in the day, Gretzky and he had his protectors, right? So like if you took a run at Gretzky, you had to answer the bell.
100%.
And so you didn't see Gretzky cross-checking someone in the mouth like McDavid, right? And I'm not saying I blame McDavid. Garland basically tackled him and wouldn't let him up, and they've been all over him this year. But like back in the day, if they were playing McDavid like that, someone would come over the boards and beat the crap out of someone.
Oh,
and
for
give him
sure.
that space, right? And that's missing now.
I remember a funny story. I'll tell you a little story. I think it was really early when Gretzky got traded to St. Louis. I don't know exactly the time, but probably the first week or whatever. And they had they had Chase and Tony Twist on that team, right? Mm-hmm. And Chaser told me this story. So guy's kind of hacking a little bit on Gretz or whatever. So Gretz comes back to the bench and he goes, "That guy slashed me." He's talking to those two guys. Is he left-handed or right-handed? Because I just want to know when I fight him, is he left-handed or right-handed? And I guess Chase and Tony go, "We got him, Gretz good night." And he goes, "That's what I wanted to hear."
That's awesome.
Next shift, Chaser's out there, and number 12 that slashed him is pinned against the board, so you touch him again, I'm going to knock your front teeth out. And then Wayne scored 2 in the second after that, right?
It's awesome.
Right.
And I love the way he didn't go over and go, "Hey, will someone fight these guys?"
Yeah,
He did it that way, which is just brilliant.
Left-handed or right-handed, I don't really know. I haven't seen this division,
That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Who's coaching wise? So like the interaction with coaches is a huge thing, and Gino and I talk a lot to the young guys about communication, and how communication is so key, and especially communicating with coaches. Who was that coach that just got it? That was like, you could talk him off the ledge, and he, only yelled when he had to, as opposed to that coach that was just a complete maniac.
Yeah, I think, that's what it's all about, what you just said. It really is about communication. how can you build a rapport with these guys and they feel that you're coming in and it's fair and safe, right? Mm-hmm. But most of the coaches were good. You know, I liked Cooper a lot. And then he started, you know, but like, and then when they get success, things change a little bit. But he was pretty reasonable with me. You could talk to him, you know. That's what you tried to want to do. You wanted to, and that was a really big part of my job. I felt as a linesman, is, you know, I always say anybody can call offsides and icings, right? I mean, how do you help the ref? What do you do to grab that 4-minute high stick? Can you grab that when no one's looking for it? I got it. You know, or I think a big part of that job in any league is buffering the ref from the coach. You know, I was really, that was one of my fortes, where I could get them away from each other and then go to the coach and say, listen, we're all right here. We can settle this down. I'll talk to him. You talk to your guys. I'll talk to him, throw a joke in there or whatever. And, you know, we'll get back to each other and then we'll get this all straightened out and just laugh or whatever. But it was all had a meaning. You know what I mean? You're trying to keep this going, because once the refs and the coaches, especially in the NHL, get at each other, because the cameras come in and it's no good for anybody, right? Linesmen can kind of slide in there off camera and kind of straighten it out. But Hartley was terrible, Bob. Because Bob was scary. He's like that person that, you know, knows a little bit of information. He kept telling us he was a level 3 ref, out of Hawkesbury. So he's dangerous because he thinks he knows something, right? You know, and I just said, it's wrong rules, Bob. You're in the wrong book, you know. And he was right all the time. He was. He knew the rule book, but he was just. But I would just mess up, say no, and he'd get frustrated. I would just play with them because I really didn't care. I would just try to get him going, but he was hard on the young guys.
That's how you got to be. You can't take it personal out there.
You can't. It's not personal.
No, and like the communication piece, it can go so far. Like just when a coach is yelling over like a goal or like major penalty, just go over and have a quick conversation. All they want to do is be heard, and then it's put to bed, and you don't have a. You know, you're not going to listen to it the rest of the game or the next whistle or whatever. Like, it's just put to bed. And if they address it again, it's easy. Hey, we just talked about it. It's over. Or if you want to continue, then you have all the reins to zing them.
100%. But, yeah, you want to calm them down. I remember one night Pat Quinn was flipping out in Toronto, and I'm working with Pat DiPuzzo.
Love Pat.
And Domi's on the bench, and Pat goes, watch this. Watch me calm this down. So I skate over with Pat, and Quinn's yelling, and now Domi's yelling, and they got Corson's yelling, the whole team's yelling, they're all yelling. There was like a pack of wolves, that team. And he's going, and Pat goes, Ty, is that a new helmet, new bucket you got on? CCM? He goes, yeah. He goes, how much you getting for that? He goes, they're giving me like $2,000 a month to wear this helmet, and it just diffused the whole thing. He goes, really? How'd you get that deal? You know, and then you getting that deal? He's pointing to Carson. No, I'm not getting that deal. and then we just skated away, and everything just calmed down. And I'm just like, wow. Do you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
It was. He didn't care about the helmet or the deal, but he knew that they would talk about it because Ty was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And we got out of there, and no one knew what was going on. We're all laughing at the end.
That's awesome.
And that was the joke. It was just a joke. But you got to find your way to calm these guys down, right? And if you can't figure that out, then it's going to be long.
Yep.
You better be really
makes
good.
for a long night.
You better nail every penalty.
My favorite was to compliment them on their shirt tie combo.
Yeah.
They loved it too, eh? Some of the.
Because they put time and effort into it too.
Well, because they're all narcissists, right? They're all control freaks. All those coaches, right? You just throw them. Oh, look at that! Looking good. You think.
I had one guy at the foot on the dasher. I go, I got to be honest with you, Coach. I wouldn't have went with that shoe with this outfit.
Not a chance.
Threw him. He was like, really? You would? I go in different color socks. Just skate away and stand there like, well.
But it's genius. It's breaking the ice, right?
Yep. Oh, you tell him you have the best hair in the league. You got the best lettuce in this league. Do you realize that? I think I told the Cornell coach that back in the day.
He loved it, eh?
Oh, and it was so funny because he was feeding me. I fell in front of the bench, and I don't know why. And he was feeding me as I get up, and I was just like, "You got the best hair in the league. You know that? Your lettuce is fantastic." And he actually asked the linesman. It was one of the Whittemores, and he goes, "What the fuck does that mean?" He goes, "I think he likes your hair."
Yeah. Yeah, he's giving you a compliment.
Yeah, I was just trying. That's all.
Right.
We just had this happen, and I haven't even talked to you about it.
Okay.
But I'd love to hear if you've ever seen this, Derek. We had a Chris Henry, a referee in your system, Gino, had an SB game, Southern Pro League game, where there was a scrum in the corner, and next thing you know, the goalies are fighting at center ice. Only the goalies.
I think I saw that on.
Did you see it? Yeah.
I think I just saw the highlight of it. Did he
Does
knock him
anyone-
down early?
Yeah, he clocked him and he split him open.
Yep.
And but it was one of those things that, like I said, I've never seen just goalies fight. Goalies fight during line brawls.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but I've had him freak out a few times, but I've had just goalie fights, but not trying to think of his name. He played for Montreal. He lost it one night in Pittsburgh, and he was going after him. Can't remember, but yeah, you see it once in a while, but not very often. It's usually the boys are all tied up, and then they come, down the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you see the goalie come out of the net and get involved, and then the other guy comes down, and then.
I wonder if there's a
goalies just
history
stayed in
there.
the center ice. It was just.
Or
When
premeditated.
he texted me, I go, what?
What
Because I didn't know what
caused
to
it?
do. I threw him out of the game.
Yeah.
And
wish Tuca
it's
had
not
a
even in
fight.
any of the
Tuca
rule
always
books, which I
wanted
thought
him
was
to
all
fight.
right.
Actually,
It was like
he's repping tomorrow. He's going to take a hockey tomorrow.
I
Tuca.
don't know if he could or
I don't
not,
know
but
if
he wanted
Tuca
it.
could fight. Could he fight?
He's pretty big.
He's
Yeah,
big.
but he's
Yeah,
built
big
like
guy.
me.
But
I think for a
does-
goalie,
does-
it's more of a want.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Fleury was
Like,
small, but Fleury liked to fight. He wanted to fight all the time.
I
He
was
was
at
small.
I was at the Price. Was it Price and Thomas when they fought? They had a line brawl. I was at that
Oh,
game. Yeah.
Remember when
Mark
Johnson?
Loveland, Derek? Remember Mark Loveland?
I do.
Red?
Yes.
Yeah, I was with him.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
Reds.
and him. We went to that game together. Yeah.
I worked up top with Mark a few games.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Great kid.
And did you go to Switzerland?
Yeah, he's over there. Yep. Yeah, he's
Great
got a
league.
3-year deal. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
loving
that's a
it.
good setup out there.
The longest drive is 3.5 hours. Life is good for him. Yep.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. Nope.
and I hear that Sweden. I hear that there's some good scenery over there.
In Sweden?
Yeah.
Oh, Stockholm. I went there for I think it was the 2004 World Cup. So we were there for a week. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then we went to, I'll never forget, we were in Prague, and my wife were sitting there having dollar beers at the square, and she looks at me and she goes, "Have you seen like an ugly woman yet?" And I'm like, no, I haven't. Like, it was that obvious. It was just like, we were just sitting there, both of us just gazing around, and Stockholm was the same. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list. Sweden. I think I wouldn't mind going over there. Speaking of over there, what was it like to go to Russia and do the Olympics?
It was incredible. It was crazy because we had to get all this, like, we couldn't, most of the other Olympics, well, I think the year before I think it was in Vancouver, right? 2010. Yeah.
Yep.
So then, like, for the officials, their wives could go, and, it was more of a vacation trip. For Russia, they wouldn't do any clearance on our family. So they weren't allowed to go. So right off the bat, it was kind of like we had to do all this clearance. So we were kind of like, oh, how's this going to go? But so we ended up going over on the NHL chartered Mark Cuban's plane. So it had the bar in the middle, and all that kind of stuff. So needless to say, we there is no beer, vodka, or Crown left by the time the plane landed. We cleaned all. That was It was the officials. It was media. It was there was a bunch of people from the NHL, but we knocked it off. We cleaned it. But and then you got there, and it was unbelievable. Treated you like gold. It was fantastic. The food was amazing. We stayed kind of like the way the Sochi was. You were in the grounds, and you kind of never left it. And they would bus you up to the mountain if there was. That's where the skiing was and all that kind of stuff. So it was heavily guarded to get in and all that kind of stuff. But once you got in there, and food was unbelievable. The hospitality was fantastic, and that hotel we stayed in, they were just finishing it off when we were get there. We were the first ones to stay in it.
Oh, nice.
And they finished it off for that, but it was amazing. It was I just was shocked how nice the people were. They're very friendly. All the hotel staff and everybody at the rinks, and yeah, it was fun. It was good, but a lot of pressure because that was a lot of pressure on Russia, and they got knocked out early. So did the U.S. I think that year. I think they both did. And then for the gold medal game, I think that year was the first time that they used officials that were actually from that country. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it was Canada, Sweden. So before that, it used to be you couldn't be Canadian or Sweden to ref that game, and
Right.
and they just chose basically it was me, Greg Dvorsky on the lines, and Brad Meyer and Kelly Sutherland that ref the game. So we were all, three of us were Canadian, and Brad Meyer is American, dual actually, but grew up basically up in Saskatchewan, and his dad played hockey down in the U.S., and I think he was born down there when his dad was playing. But so that put a lot of extra pressure because Forsberg came out in the papers just before that and said, "Oh, this is Canada. It's got Canadian guys. It's rigged and all that kind of stuff." I don't know if you remember that. It was kind of so it made it very, very tense in that. But we knocked it off. It was a great game, 2-1. We caught a high stick early against Canada, which was huge, and it was great. And then the coolest thing was, like, even all the Swedish players came to us after the game and like, "You guys were great," and when they shook our hands. But it was very stressful, that's for sure. That was probably the most, that in Game 7 with Boston and St. Louis were the two most stressful games I've ever been involved with.
That's a great segue, because I was going to bring up that Stanley Cup final, and to me, that Game 5 was where the Bruins lost it, right? You got to win Game 5 at home.
Had it.
Like, you have to win Game 5 at home. And they were beat up, bruised, battered, and just couldn't do it.
That's the game Chara came back with
Game
the teeth.
5, yeah.
Game 5.
Yep.
I believe
Then they
that was
played
game
really
5.
well back in St. Louis, Game 6. They worked that Game 6 too, and they played really well. And then you're thinking you're going back home, and yeah, remember, like I still have that vivid memory of being along the wall, the player's side, and that kind of that change with Marchand, remember, and
change.
and was it Petrangelo that buried it, or a defenseman, or
Sounds about like, yeah.
but I remember seeing it, and I'm like, oh, he knew he was going to get called, but he didn't want to touch it, which was smart. But then to have that defenseman react and read that play and take off and grab it, like, it just tells you how phenomenal they are, right? And then they just put the hammer on them, right? They just couldn't.
They couldn't.
Billington played out of his mind, though, too.
Yes, he did. He
was amazing.
He were incredible. Like, brick house, couldn't get through him.
No.
Yeah.
But it was
That was a game, too. I think the Bruins made a mistake in sitting, who was it, Backus? That was the captain of St. Louis.
Yeah,
and they played for Boston.
Yeah.
And they sat him for Game 7, which made no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, he was the guy that had every reason to play in that game.
Right.
And they didn't play him. I thought that was a big mistake.
Who did they play instead? Do you remember?
I don't remember
Did
who
they go with a
who
younger,
put
faster
in.
guy, kind of? Because he would have been a little older.
Yeah.
the whole thing got thrown off too. When Chara came back, they had to dress 7 defensemen in case he couldn't go. And that threw off not only the D pairings, but it threw off the
Forwards.
forward lines too, because now you're running 11 forwards.
That's
instead
probably
of
what
12.
happened. They went with the
And
extra
that
D.
shift, that got all their lines screwed up and everything. And I think that really hurt them. I think game 5, it really messed them up. I think that's why they lost that game 5, because they, that's an adjustment you got to make, that you have to be ready for,
100%.
So I'll tell you what, you thought that game was stressful
Yeah.
for you. It was pretty stressful for us watching.
Yeah, that was a quiet night in Boston.
Oh, yeah, it was.
That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Did you get to do anything when you were at the Olympics? Did you get to go see any of the other
Yeah,
sports or anything?
I never saw a lot. I saw some speed skating, which was cool. I saw curling. I went to a couple hockey games and watched them. I went and watched a lot of the girls or the women's hockey, because it was kind of cool because we were there, but we became friends with all the women officials too that were down there, and it was kind of cool because we did a lot of supervising. A lot of the guys would go to their games and help them out or give them tips, and because I really loved that part about it, that it was like half professional or whatever the number is and half amateur. So, it was pretty cool, that part of it. So we all became pretty good friends and kind of cheered each other on and kind of rooted for them. So I think I watched mostly just hockey, but I did see curling, and then I went up to the mountain, and it was unbelievable where they had the skiing and all that. But we just had a few beers and had lunch up at the village more than went and saw the events up there. But it was beautiful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, I got to ask, what's that one moment in your career? And I know it's tough because you had an incredible career and did so many big games, but what was that one moment that stands out for you in your officiating career?
The one moment for me was the number one game ever would have to be Game 7, St. Louis, Boston. Even more than the Olympics, because it's, they're putting a big game on you. That means you're at the pinnacle of what you're really talking about, which is the National Hockey League for me. And, working a whole season and be able to be recognized for that, to, work Game 6 and come back for 7. That's probably the pinnacle of my career, in my opinion. Yeah.
That makes sense. And 8 Stanley Cups, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's but the most important, I think I worked, I liked it. I went in the playoffs in 2001 was my first playoff, and I never left the playoffs. My last game I ever worked was Game 5 of the finals in the bubble, and then I got my hand surgically fixed after that and got the finger removed, and then that was the end of it. So to basically never leave the playoffs once you got in was something pretty special for me, because more of a longevity thing, right? It's about performing, right? And then the top would be that Game 7, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we always talk, and we've had some of the guys on, Coho came on and Stewie, and we got some more on the docket. Who is that? Because back in the day, all those guys had personalities. Everyone knew what they were getting. Everyone knew if, McCreary came in the building, you knew what you were getting, right? Now it's not like that at all. But who is your favorite guy to work with?
There are so many. It's as a linesman, probably Brad Kovacek. We were pretty tight friends. Greg Dvorsky are, we came through together. We worked the OHL together, me and Brad, and yeah, working with him, we worked the finals in a few finals, but our first one we worked together was Rangers LA. I think it was 2014. So that was pretty special for us. And as buddies coming up through the OHL, working the finals together as teammates, and it's hard because we were both fairly young, so they usually paired you up with like a senior guy, right? Love that. As for refs, so many great guys. Wes McCauley to Bill McCurry to Danny O'Halloran, Kelly Sutherland. Like, we just worked a lot of games together, all of us, and yeah, it was fun working with them and seeing their careers and seeing their families grow. But yeah, that's what I would say were my. But there were just if you got 1 minute, there were so many characters. It was crazy when it was the one-man system because I was young and I didn't say anything, and I could listen to these two. Like they didn't see each other. Like the refs never saw each other. So you'd come in and it'd be one like. Well, I saw Coho, he looks like he's put on a few pounds, eh? Coho put on a few pounds, and they're, yeah, it looks slow out there, and they're always going against each other, but it was great. I'd come in, I say, oh, geez, Billy, you should see him. Cole's looking good. He's stealth. No, he's not. I saw him the other night, but it was because there was such a competition, right? And then you had Fraser come in, and they were just all beauties. They all just had such big personalities, that Mick would come in and. I remember one night tell a Mick story real quick if you have time. And
we have plenty of time.
So I'm in Philly at the airport, and Mick's trying to get to New York, and they can't get to New York. Storm or something. He's going to land in Philly, and then he's going to take the train up in the morning to work the Rangers game. So I'm like, I just get the lady says, any of the NHL guys here? And she looks, and she's like, oh, says the name. She said, oh. I get a knock on my door. I'm just like, I got a Philly game. I don't know. And it's Mick with all his bags just comes wheeling in right in my room. And I got he says, kid, I couldn't get a room or anything. So, sleep on the floor. He just throws me on the floor with the comforter and he just takes over the bed. And like 20 minutes later, he's just sawing logs. Like he's been traveling all day. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then in the morning, he's like, thanks a lot, kid. See you later. See you down the road. Well, that's how it was. It was like a big family, There wasn't a lot of guys either, but I don't think the guys I don't think they want the guys to have the personalities like they did then. There's some funny guys now, but you can't get away with that.
Yeah,
not too many cameras now.
When Stewie had the big numbers, when we came to the numbers.
Oh yeah,
from the names, Stewie had the big numbers. He got his numbers changed and. 22 was bigger than all the other numbers of ours, and he's just running around and like, your number's bigger, Stu. He goes, no, it's not. You sent me a shirt. You got it all done, eh? Got a new patch made.
That doesn't sound like him at all.
No, that wouldn't be Stu, Cat. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Beauty.
That is absolutely awesome.
Ask him about the bigger numbers. I think he'll still say it came like that from the shop.
Oh, I'm sure he'll stick to that story.
Or whatever, some CCM.
He had his numbers bigger. I wish we knew that back in episode 2.
Oh, yeah.
We could have brought that up.
Yeah.
I always joke and say no one loves Stu more than Stu.
Stu's the best.
Just ask him.
I love traveling with Stu. It was unbelievable the things you'd see or hear. I picked him up one night. We just got into Nashville. Just came in the league first year. So I'm the young guy, so I got the car, and I would always pick up the refs at the airport or whatever. So I go pick up Stu Cat at the airport, come wheeling out. He comes wheeling out with a cowboy hat that wouldn't fit in the car. He's got this huge cowboy hat, buckle. He's a cowboy, and like, just howdy partner. He just comes off first time in Nashville. It's like the best. He comes wheeling in. Then tell you a history story of that, what happened, and he played in Oklahoma somewhere. Just the best.
That's awesome. Yeah, he can tell a story.
The best. Got you all tied in.
Fuck
Those big mitts. He's got waffle irons.
He's got some big mitts, and he was a tough bastard too.
Yeah, he can definitely go.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Derek, this has been awesome, man.
Oh, good.
This was awesome.
We really appreciate you coming on and sharing stories, sharing insight, your knowledge. I mean, you had a hell of a career, and we're very honored to have you on, man.
Right on. Well,
on.
hopefully I can make another episode.
I'll try to get you back on staff too.
Yeah, do it.
Next year. Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna have a talk with the boss, and
We'll
make it
see how
happen.
it goes.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, all the coaches loved you.
Yeah.
All the ones they're asking for you. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
Gino,
I mean, I enjoyed
Derek
it
worked for you
yeah,
as a supervisor.
supervisor, correct? Yep.
last year, and then when my son became in the Sacred Heart, the Atlantic, it was kind of like, I don't know, it's the right thing. We did the right thing,
I think so. Yeah,
100%.
right on.
But I'll do her again.
We'll revisit it.
All right,
Thanks,
sounds
Derek.
good. Well,
Thank
thanks
you
for
very
having me, guys, and good stuff. I enjoyed it. That was fun. Bring back
Yeah,
some
no,
old memories.
We appreciate it, and you'll definitely we'll definitely have you back on for sure.
Yes.
All right, guys.
So before we go though, hang on, because we need to do some Riverside stuff. Josh knows that stuff, but I have no idea. I'm just excited. I got a new microphone today at Guitar Centers, and it's working. We want to thank our sponsor, the Referee's Crease. As always, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. Want to thank our guys over at AOA Studios. Even though we're not in the studio, they'll take care of all the editing and whatnot for us. And also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, the TikTok. Becca Peasy, a lot of her videos are doing really well.
She was awesome. Best guest.
Yeah.
So
Derek,
far.
this girl we had on, she ran 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents
Are you serious?
in the Guinness Book of World Records. She did it twice.
How does she even do that?
I don't know.
That was our thing. Unbelievable. And actually, you know what? I should have brought this up at the beginning of the show. Someone actually commented on one of the reels we put out and said, seven marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. That sounds like a bucket list thing. No, that's not worthy of the Guinness Book of World Records.
Ugh.
And I was like, what?
Go
It
to the
took
Grand
everything in me
Canyon,
not to just
skydiving.
snap on
Those are
this
bucket list.
person. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sack tapping a moose in
swim-
Alaska.
swim with
That's
dolphins.
a bucket list.
Yeah, right.
Not like
I just can't even see how you could
bring that up.
physically even do that, like logistically. Never
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
do the. I couldn't fly that and not do the marathons. I'd be
Well,
tired.
the way she trained, she did that as part of the training. Like she would run like the Chicago Marathon, fly home, and then run another marathon, like just run a marathon. I'm like, God, that was insane.
What's her
Amazing.
name?
Becca Peasy.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's
Oh,
incredible.
she's amazing.
Our podcast out. It was awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was episode 45.
Okay, I'll watch
Pedro
it.
Martinez.
I'm gonna watch
Right,
it.
it was a couple episodes ago, and she was amazing. She's
That's
just an amazing
unbelievable.
person.
Yeah, awesome.
Amazing athlete. And she
Talk
and
about
she
a grinder,
trains-
right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I mean, 100 miles a week she was running to train and all this stuff, but she trains Zdeno Chara.
Yep.
She trained him to run the marathon, and also works with Patrice Bergeron and
Nice.
a bunch of Tom Brady, and she's worked with a bunch of people, and really amazing. So
That's amazing.
yeah, check out episode 45.
I will.
She was incredible, but as always, our endings are like we go off the rails really quick. But find us on the social medias, Facebook, Twitter. No, not Twitter. What are we? Instagram, Facebook, Instagram,
All
and
social
Like and
TikTok.
subscribe. That's it. That's all you got.
Like and subscribe.
Google us.
Go to social media and like and subscribe. How's that? Google it. All right, that's gonna do it for Derek Amell, for Josh Dolan, for Gino Bender Jr. I'm Mark Riley. Thanks a lot for watching Chirping Zebras. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.